This is episode 3 of Off the Cuff, where we answer your questions about Lego. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Lego collections, YouTube algorithm, modulars, and more. If you have a question for our next episode, please comment below, and we'll be sure to address that next time. Let's get into it.
Alrighty.
Our first question. What is a set you regret buying?
Oh, this is a really, really good question. I have to think about this for just a moment. I think I'll break it up into like childhood sets versus adult sets, like when we've been collecting over the last, I don't know how many number of years, or even for this channel. So I think one set that I regret buying for the channel is the Loop roller coaster. I think it's a really cool set. I think it looks great on display, but I think there are two significant flaws to spending that amount of money if you're not going to have it on display. The first is it's massive and it just takes up a ton of space. So if you don't have display space for the Loop coaster, you just have nowhere to put it. And that's not unique to the coaster, but I would prefer to keep Rivendell together and on display than the Loop coaster just because I like Rivendell better. The second flaw to that set, in my opinion, is the normal pieces to Technic ratio. There's a ton of Technic pieces in it, and when I calculated it, we did a review a long time ago, it's like a third of the pieces are Technic. And so if you take the set apart and you want to use those pieces, well, there are some phenomenal pieces in that set, especially like the dark blue pieces, some of the modified bricks. You get a lot of Technic, and it's not as quite of a good of bang for the buck as maybe other sets that you could get for $400 worth. So that's one. I think when I was like an adult first getting back into Lego, yeah, there were a couple sets, like some of the Pirates of the Caribbean sets that I wanted to get because it had some specific pieces in it that I don't think I'd ever really want to build again. And that's not a terrible thing. It's just that I could have purchased those pieces on Bricklink. You know, sometimes like sets come out and right away you want to get one because it has a bunch of a new piece. I think of some of those door rail pieces in dark tan that the Pirates of the Caribbean sets had, or some like double slopes that are kind of rare. I don't know, like I would buy sets for that, and I don't think it was the best use of money. And then the third level, going back to when I was a kid, and I would save up my money and, you know, dry a bunch of dishes and do yard work and clean the house for, you know, like 50 cents and, you know, 25 cents for that. I don't regret any castle or pirates. Maybe some of the town stuff that I got. But I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head. Yeah.
The set that came to mind for me was a more recent set. It was the Ministry of Magic set.
That's a good one too. Yeah. Yeah.
From the Harry Potter line.
Yeah. And if you ever want to see the surliest review done by a preteen, you can check out this link up in the card above us, somewhere up here. Yeah, but it has some good pieces to it, but I would agree. Like, it's not a set that is worth the price, and wasn't really a fun build. There were some good pieces to it, but you could just, again, get those on Bricklink if you need them for a particular mock.
The end result was just very disappointing. Like, it was like, it just didn't, it wasn't aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah. Honestly, it discouraged me from buying additional Harry Potter sets. Like, I really wanted 12 Grimmauld plays, and we didn't buy that one in Parks. I was like, I just, you know, that line of Harry Potter sets just wasn't that good for, you know, based on that set. And I think we got one other one that was mediocre at best. So yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Now for our second question.
Okay.
If you could design a gift with purchase polybag, like the seasonal ones, the spooky ones, like these VIP polybags, what pieces would you include?
This is a really fascinating question. Again, off the cuff, which means I have not spent a moment thinking about this. All right, so I'm going to go with like those VIP add-on packs as a polybag that comes in a polybag. I think that counts. If you disagree, comment down below, yell at us. Because Lego's doing this where they have, you know, every quarter some add-on packs that have pieces. I would love to get some food pieces in it. For instance, like lemons, limes, waffles, Those pie pieces are great, but like turkeys, like not just the turkey legs with the actual turkey. I know they do this in some of them, but those are really, really useful to get. I would love to get more like of the newer pieces, like the newer snot bricks, like the 1x1 by like 1 2/3 with 2 studs on one side, because those are really useful. Some maybe modified, well, not maybe, yeah, the modified tiles, like they have those half round modified jumper plates that are in the jazz club. So getting more of those, I think, in principle, or I should say, broadly speaking, I would like to see some of the newer pieces that are pretty expensive on Bricklink. I think of some of those inverted arches that you get in the Lion Knight's Castle, as well as the police station when those first came out. Like, those are tough to get, so to have some of those in those VIP add-on packs would be excellent, because you can get bricks pretty cheap on Bricklink if you want, and of course they have the classic tubs that you can buy, but some of these specific modified bricks, tiles, jumper plates, all that stuff are really useful to have and can be pretty expensive on Bricklink. So that's my go on that. Let me know down below if you would like other pieces in your VIP add-on pack.
Nice. Okay, our third question came actually from a different video where we talked about the analytics of our channel, and they wanted to know if someone watches a video at like double speed, for example, how does that affect our watch time and YouTube's analytics?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
I have not looked that up.
We might have to do a little research on this one.
All right, so we're going to look it up, and we'll be right back. All right, so we found a couple of sources. One of them is Daryl Eves, I believe his name is, and he's the one who wrote like a book about the YouTube algorithm that we've read that we really like. Another one is vidIQ, which is a great YouTube channel. If you have your own channel, they give lots of tips and all that. And Daryl argued that if you play it at double speed, you only get, as a YouTube channel, credit for them watching half of the video. So if it's a 10-minute video, you get credit for 5 minutes worth. vidIQ, in a 1-minute short video, they did a little experiment where they set a video to private. It had no views. They watched it at double speed. It was a 20-minute video, and I think they got 9 minutes worth. There was a 10-minute video and they got 5 minutes worth. So that's how YouTube calculates watch time if you watch it at double speed. So you know what that means, right? It means all of you should watch this at half speed. That way we get double credit for watch time. So there you go. If you really think we talk fast, and I can talk really, really fast if I want to, watch it at half speed.
What surprised me that showed up in that video too was that you only get like percentage watched. It only shows 50% of watching the total video, even though you've watched the whole video. So that was kind of odd to me. And
retention time is also 50%.
Yeah. Does that mean that if they watch it at 0.75 speed, that it'll look like they've watched 100 and whatever % of the video?
So that I don't know about retention rate, but certainly feel free to watch it at 3/4 or half speed, because, you know, any little bit can help. So now we've learned something. Hopefully you've learned something as well.
All right, final question.
Okay.
What is the latest news on the new modular?
Oh, this is great. So there have been some recent rumors about the 2024 modular building, and it's what we think we know, again, depending on if the rumors are accurate, is that it's going to be a museum. Now, the museum is going to be, on the first level, natural history with a huge, I think, a brachiosaurus skeleton somewhere in there. So that could be really, really cool. The second level is going to be more science exhibits, and on one of the rooms, a Lego exhibit. And then on the third level will be curators' offices. So
I feel like we should give ourselves a little pat on the back, because we totally called that one.
Boom, yeah. Check out Off the Cuff episode 2, because we talked about this, and if I recall, we had some pretty spot on predictions, eerily spot on, even though we had no advanced knowledge of the modular.
I think even in episode 1, I mentioned that it would be cool if they did a museum. A science museum.
So that's 2 months ago. So high fives.
Yeah. So what might this look like?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this because I spend way too much time thinking about modulars. Honestly, when I'm on my commute to work, I will think about Lego modulars. Sometimes I do pay attention to traffic and all of that stuff, so I don't drive recklessly. So I was thinking there's 2 aspects to this question. One is going to be the exterior, the other one's going to be the interior. So I'll tackle the exterior first. I think one way that they could go, because this is a 48 wide modular building, I would believe that it's all going to be just one building. So unlike having a pizzeria with the jazz club where they split the length, 32 studs into 2 sections, this will be 48 of one building. So that has some significant implications for how they designed the set. If you think back to the assembly square, which this set is replacing, you had a standalone building with a little bit of an alleyway, a very shallow building in the middle, and then another building on the other side. And these 2 on the other side were connected. But the one being shallow in the middle really helped them reduce the overall piece count, even though it was almost 4,000 pieces, to make it manageable for the price. I think this is going to be a pretty substantive build, all 48 studs, which means that if it's going to be 3 levels, they're going to have to think about how they adjust the perimeter of this building, right? So if you've ever built a custom modular, you know, right, that like the more perimeter you have, the more details you have, the more pieces it takes. And so with 4,002 pieces, they're going to think about that. I also think about the design of it. Is it going to be like a central entrance with 2 wings on the side, like I think of a classic architectural style, or is it going to be more modern era architecture? Now in the modular line, we have, I think, architecture up through like the mid 20th century, some of the, so like slightly more modern. So that's about as modern as it gets. I don't think they're going to like go 50s or, God forbid, 80s style modern. I tend to think with a museum, they're going to go back to styles like the town hall, maybe the cafe corner, whatever that might be. This is going to be very classic in its look. And so we could see columns.
Might be like kind of more of a Greek architecture.
Yeah.
Kind of match the bank, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a really good example, the bank. So you have maybe some columns or you have some archways for the entrance, really cool archways over the windows. I also think about color scheme, right? If you're going to go with a classic style look, it's probably not going to be bright, bold, oranges or, blues. It's probably going to go more reddish brown, tan, undoubtedly dark red, like the fire brigade, because we just had the jazz club, which was dark red last time. So I don't think they're going to duplicate the colors. So it'll be interesting to see what it could be white. So those are some of the colors I would expect. If it's going to go more of the classic modern, I could see them going blues. I could see them going some greens or even whites mixed in, but I hope it's not modern. And then the next one is the interior, right? Like if you walk in, again, think about how they're going to create an interior that's going to fit 48 wide base plate, 4,000 pieces. I think that not that they're going to take shortcuts, but I think there's going to be a few walls in there. They might have some like columns or some pillars to support different levels, but you're going to have more open air. So maybe you walk in, you've got the brachiosaurus in the middle. I think I've read there's going to be skylights. So I could see there being a skylight over the brachiosaurus kind of at the top where, like the natural light comes in and you can see that. And so, these exhibits might be kind of open air, allowing people to mill around, open floor concept kind of thing. Second level could be similar where they have just a limited number of walls, but some columns to kind of support the third level. And so that's what I'm thinking when it comes to that. Lots of really cool mini builds, I think, when we think of these exhibits. And so that's where maybe the pieces are going to go. So I'm also curious to see how that turns out. But that's what I'm thinking in terms of how it can look exterior, interior. Let me know if you have any sort of desires for how it looks. If you prefer classical architecture compared to more modern stuff, comment down below.
That's all we have today. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you have any questions, to comment below. And always remember to keep building together.